I've been wanting to start a dedicated series on this channel where I act as the GM of a certain NBA team in the midst of a rebuild and help them turn their team around. I figured if I was going to start this series, I would start with what I think is the most difficult rebuild in the entire NBA at the moment, that being the Detroit Pistons. What's going on, everybody? It's JellyJNBA back with another video, and in today's video, I'm going to be looking at the future of the Detroit Pistons and proposing some moves that could potentially put the team in a better position to win than the one that they are in right now. But before we get into today's video, I'd like to thank you guys for your continued support on this channel. It means the world to me. And if you are new here and enjoy NBA content, consider subscribing. I upload every single day. Now let's first take a look at the foundation that the Pistons have set for the next few seasons. Obviously, a majority of their cap space is dedicated to 31-year-old All-Star Blake Griffin, who has continuously dealt with injuries throughout his career, but is still a very solid player. Griffin has a player option for the 2021-2022 season and will most likely accept this offer because no other team in the league is going to pay Blake Griffin $38 million for one season. Besides having over $20 million in dead cap space being paid out to players who are no longer on the roster, the Pistons don't have a bad contract situation at all and can re-sign some young players like Christian Wood and Luke Kennard, who I see being a part of this roster in the future. Now obviously, this cap space isn't as valuable to Detroit as it would be to a team like the New York Knicks, because Detroit is not known as a free agent destination for star players and will most likely end up using this cap space on players in-house or signing low-tier free agents. What makes Detroit's rebuild situation so hard at the moment is the fact that they don't have a franchise cornerstone on their current roster. Now, I understand they have three solid young guys in Christian Wood, Sekou Doumbouya, and Luke Kennard. But outside of these three, the team's two current best players are 31-year-old injury-prone players outside of their prime. I think one thing that the Pistons should seriously look into is trading Blake Griffin before his contract expires and the team doesn't get any assets for him. One trade that I cooked up for Blake Griffin involved a three-team trade between the Philadelphia 76ers, Indiana Pacers, and Detroit Pistons. This trade would send Blake Griffin to the Philadelphia 76ers, Al Horford and a future first-round pick from Philadelphia to the Indiana Pacers, and Miles Turner and Jeremy Lamb to the Detroit Pistons. Now, this is obviously just a proposed trade and may not benefit the other teams involved as much as it may the Pistons. But getting a young center in Miles Turner, who still has a ton of upside, in exchange for an aging Blake Griffin is something rather than nothing. Now, I think the biggest key in the Pistons rebuild will be their success through the draft. Like I said earlier, Detroit isn't known for being a free agent destination, so hitting on their draft picks will be just that more important. Although over the last few seasons, Detroit's draft success has been one of the worst in the entire NBA. Since 2010, the Pistons have had 6 picks in the lottery. And out of these 6 picks, Luke Kennard is the only player left on the current roster. This year though, Pistons fans have something to look forward to. They have the best odds at the number 1 overall pick since 2003 when they selected number 2 overall. They currently have the 5th best odds in this year's draft to get the number 1 pick. And if they get some lottery luck, they'd look to either land LaMelo Ball or Anthony Edwards, both players that the team can definitely build around. In my opinion, the team's biggest need in this year's draft is a young ball-handling scorer and playmaker who can not only create for himself, but create for others. Some players that fit this shoe would be Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, Denny Avila, Tyrese Haliburton, and Killian Hayes. Now shifting our focus to this year's upcoming free agent class, there's not many players who I can see the Pistons going after. But one suggestion that I would make if the Pistons are to miss out on a young playmaker in this year's draft is to seriously take a look at Fred VanVleet. Now I understand Toronto is probably going to do everything in their power to try and lock him up, considering how well he's performed these past 2 seasons. But VanVleet could bring some much needed juice to this Detroit roster. He has the ability to play both guard positions and is a very underrated facilitator, averaging almost 7 assists per game this season. With all of this being said, I think that the Pistons face an uphill climb in their rebuild, but once they find the guy that they can legitimately build around, I think things will become a lot more smoother and this team will continue to compete again. Dwayne Casey is a very solid coach, and the other players on this roster currently are either young guys who are proving themselves or decent veteran players. My final suggestions to the Pistons would be this. Be patient. Don't make an impulse decision that could set the team back in 2 seasons or less. Realize that this team is going to need time to come together and rebuild its identity. At the end of the day, I do trust the Pistons front office to rebuild this team back up in the next few seasons once they get their franchise cornerstone. And that's the video, guys. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, as well as let me know your suggestions for the Pistons rebuild going forward. Do you think that they should trade Blake Griffin for assets or keep him? Let me know down in the comment section down below, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.